100. So we have 45% of blank is 27. Okay, so if we want to set this up, 45, we'll go over 100. And it's down, what are we looking for? Of is what we're looking for. So of is blank. That'll be our x. The other number is 27. Okay. We cross multiply. 27 times 100. 2,700 equals 45x. Then we got to solve for this x. We want to get x by itself. We would divide by 45 here. Divide by 45 here. And 2,700 divided by 45 should be 60. Like I said, you can use a calculator for this. I'm not working. I don't want to do long division up here. All right, good. Number 3. 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, number 7. A company ordered 452 red pens. They returned 113 of the pens because they were blue instead of red. What percent of the pens were returned? This thing sucks. Okay, so on this one we're going to use part over whole equals percent over 100. So the part they give us is how many they return because it's just a portion of it. So the part would be 113. The whole is how many we have all together. 452. We're looking for the percent. Should be x, and then 100 is always here. Then we cross multiply. 113 times 100 would be 11,300 equals 452 times x, which is 452x. And then to solve for x, we divide by 452, cancel, divide by 452. We should get 25. All right. Number 8. Number 8. Elena bought 2 pounds of sliced ham for $3.75. Sales tax is 12%. How much does Elena pay? All right. So the first thing we need to figure out, how much money do we spend altogether? Would be how much? $7.50. So is that our part or our whole? That's the whole. So we're looking for the part equals how much is tax? If you didn't do it like that, you could think you went to the store, you bought something for $7.50. So you could just do $7.50 times 12%. Or if you do it this way, you're going to do 750 times 12 and then divide it by 100. Does that help you? You need to work the rest out? You sure? Yeah. All right, we're good on 8. Number 9. Someone said 10. Want to do 10? I thought someone yelled out 10 earlier. Okay, 10. Audrey spends $600 per month on rent. She makes $25,000 per year. To the nearest percent, what percent of her income does she spend on rent? All right, so we need to figure out per year. So the whole is per year. So how much does she make a year? $25,000. How much does she pay on rent? A month. So how much does she pay per year? Is it 7,200?
Yeah.
And that equals, we're looking for percent, right? Okay. Or you could, if you went the other way, you could also went 600 and then divided this by 12 to figure out how much she would make per month. You know what I mean? So if you either had to figure, you had to turn it all into months or all into years. And then the other way would have made you give an extra step. So then you would solve for this, so it'd be $720,000 equals 25,000 x divide, then you get what, B 9,000 or no 10 over 10 J 29%. Yep, 28.8%. It's all about making sure you set it up correctly. Make sure you read the problem. All right, any questions on 10 still? 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Company rules state that Jeanette must rest 4 hours for every 6 hours she spends driving. Which of the following proportions could Jeanette use to figure out how many hours of rest she must have during 32-hour drive? All right. So yesterday when I was saying whatever you keep on top, keep on top. Whatever's on the bottom or whatever's on the bottom, you stay on the bottom. So if you have, we'll keep hours of rest on the top. And hour drive on the bottom. So the first one, so must rest, how many, she must rest how long? 4 hours over 6. And they tell us she's gonna drive a 32-hour drive. So 32 would stay on the bottom, the top. Does that make sense? Make sure whatever says we kept hours of rest on the top, make sure that stays on top, hour drive on the bottom. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You guys are good. Either you're just lying to me because you don't want to hear me talk to you. You guys are good. All right, I like it. That's all right. You don't gotta lie to me. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. All right. What are we moving on to? Algebra 111 and 112. Work on it until you're done. Help people around you if you're struggling. I'll go over the answers in a little bit. One. We have to solve the equation they give us first and figure out what the answer is. So we need to solve for x before we can figure out the solution. Or the answer, I should say. We'll find the solution and get the answer. So we'll subtract 9 from each side here. We're left with x over 2 equals 16 minus 9 is 7. We need to get x by itself. I don't know if you guys can see this. Thank you. X over 2. To get rid of the 2, we need to multiply. This is like reading like x divided by 2. So we'll times this side by 2, times this side by 2. So for this answer, we're left with x equals 14. But now in the answer, they're saying which equation has the same solution. So we need to figure out which one of the ones below when you plug in 14 for X, does it come out equal? Or does it solve the problem? All right. So if we went to, so remember X is 14. So we know X is 14. So the first problem here, we have 3X plus 12 equals 54. We're going to plug this 14 in for X to see if it works. So we have 3 times 14 plus 12 equals 54. Solve 3 times 14, 42 plus 12 equals 54. 42 plus 12, does that equal 54? So that would be our answer. You got lucky if you tried the first one first, if you tried letter A. But if you tried, for example, C, if you did 4 times 12, I'll show you, I'll do it right here. So if you did 4 times 14, or 14, sorry, 4 times 14 minus 12, does that equal 36? 4 times 14 is what? 56 minus 12. 56 minus 12 equals 44. So that would be wrong. So it could not be letter C. Yes, yeah, that help? Whoever, that help you? Okay, perfect. All right, number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You guys are good. Someone must have the answers back there just whispering around. Everyone's getting them all right. All right, you guys are good. Take a 15-minute break. Come back. You'll work on
133. Does everybody see those sheets to fill out? Okay, where are they? You know where they are?
You ain't leaving, I don't know why you're packing your bag. Oh, no. Yeah, it was wrong. Right. Wrong.
Okay, so in that section in the center here, where it shows your kilometers, hectometers, decameters, this is on page 135. Okay, so there's a way to remember that, okay? And the way to remember it, if you don't commit it to memory, because if you know that information, a lot of times when you're equating them, you can just kind of move the decimal point to the right or to the left. So they came up with a saying, and it's for, it starts with kilo. We do kilo, hecto, deca, base, then your basic base unit, then deci, centi, and milli. So it's King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Okay? So if you remember, I'll write that down. So King Henry died drinking chocolate milk. Okay, so what that is K is for kilo, you know, for your kilometers, H, hecto, deca. And then this is kind of like a base meter itself. I forgot the B, bi. I forgot the B. Okay, B goes in here, bi. I'm like, where's my base unit? Okay, so King Henry died bi, that's your base unit. So base unit means if you're talking about your meters, your liters, your grams, you know, whichever one you're talking about. And then drinking, D is for deci, and then C is for centi, chocolate, and milk is for milli. So if you just remember, like a lot of times I try to equate people with acronyms or different things that can help you remember stuff. I know for T's, I'm always telling people, think of an acronym on a card or whatever, if you're going over parts of the body or anatomy and physiology or, you know, whatever you're reviewing. And some of those acronyms can help you because if you can remember, you know, King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk and you know, like on any kind of a test or review or whatever you're doing, you write that down at the top of your paper, then you know you're going to go kilo, hecta, deca, you know, base unit, deci, centi, milli. Then all you do is move the decimal points to the right or to the left to go from one unit to the next. And it's quicker than remembering the conversions. Okay. So anyway, that's just one thing I wanted to bring up on that. Another thing I'm just going to show you real quick, and this is kind of silly. Does everybody have our emails if you need us? One of the other things I just want to show you real quick, it's kind of a silly picture, but it helps a lot of students. I don't know if you guys have seen this before, but it's kind of like the figurative head of a gallon man. So we have like a big G, okay? And then in here, okay, so this is just kind of a picture that will help you equate, you know, these different unit of measures. So obviously G is a gallon, right? Q's are your quarts, P's are your pints, and C's are your cups. So instead of remembering, okay, this is how many cups goes in a pint, or how many pints go in a quart, or how many of this goes in a gallon, if you remember the picture, it'll tell you that. So in 1 gallon, we have 4 quarts, right? How many pints do we have? Oh, I need 2. Sorry about that. Forgot my extra P's. So how many pints do we have? 8, right? And then how many cups do we have? 16. So by looking at the picture, you know, you can kind of equate your different measurements without having to sit and remember the definitions of how they equate to each other. And it just is a little simpler to, I know I also help, you know, students get their high school equivalency or their GED, and they have to know this kind of stuff to take their tests. And so they'll give you a whiteboard or a paper, and some of these things like the King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk, you write that down on the top of your paper. And I teach my pharmacology math students that, you know, if you're working with the metric, let's be simple. Let's not go through conversions and have to memorize all these conversion factors. Let's just move our decimal to the right and to the left, right? That's a piece of cake, as long as you're working within the same metric unit. Now, if we're going from metric to English unit, like we're going to centimeters to inches, well, then we can't do that, okay? But as long as we're staying within the metric realm, we can do that. This here is just another picture that helps you to be able to equate your units without having to memorize it. So that's just a couple things I want to show you. Okay. So did you guys do the sheets? Have you done 149 and 150 yet, or those are what you need to start on? Okay, so is everybody finished, or is there still people going to have to work on them? Okay, all right, so go ahead and work on that, and then we'll go over those. Okay, how about number one? You need to see number one? Okay, so number one, they're talking about a bookshelf. They show you the diagram. They say each shelf on the bookcase would be 0.5 or 1/2 meter deep, right? Which of these is another way to describe the depth of each shelf? Okay, so they have listed here in centimeters. So this is kind of what I said when I talked about that King Henry stuff, you know, that I told you to remember. So if you look here, if you look at the right side, you have your meters is kind of your base unit. Then you have your decimeters, your centimeters, and your millimeters, okay? So what they're asking you, you know here that it's 0.5 or 1/2 of a meter deep, right? So you're going to start here with the meters and you're going to go to centimeters, right? So you're going to go over 1, 2 places. Okay, so then you just put your 0.5 down here and you go over 2 places and you have to add some zeros, right? So you add a 0, you go over 1, 2 places. So that would be 50 centimeters. Make sense? So all you did is move the decimal point. That's all you did. You took the decimal point from 0.5, moved it 2 to the right because you went from meters, 2 to the right is centimeters. Okay? All right, how about number 2? We're good? Oh, you need to see number 2? Okay. It's like I'm writing up here and this is looking blurry. Okay, so number 2, the top of each shelf in the bookcase would be covered with a special adhesive back paper. How much of the paper is needed to cover 4 shelves? Okay, so in the diagram above, it shows you the length of the shelf, right? It's 0.5 meters by 2 meters, right? So that's the measurement of it. So you're going to take your 0.5, which is your front to back width, times your 2, which is your length of it, right? And then you have to multiply that by 4 because there's 4 shelves, right? So you're going to take 0.5 times 2. This is your width times your length. And then 4 is your quantity. So you have 0.5 times 2 is 1 times 4 would give you 4. So it would be 4 square meters. Make sense? Okay, how about 3? 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. Oh, we don't like 7. Okay, let's look at 7. Okay, 7 says, what is the surface area, which they define as SA of the figure? Okay, so the figure is what's represented up above where it's 5 by 8 by 3, right? So for surface area, you have to multiply your length times width, but it's in a cube type of a fashion, okay? So you're going to have 8 yards times 3 yards plus 5 yards times 8 yards plus 3 yards. Trying to write big enough here. Times 5 yards. Okay, and then you're gonna multiply those together. So 8 times 3 is what? 24. So you have 24 yards squared, right? Plus 5 times 8 is 40 yards squared. Plus 3 times 5 is 15, right? Yards squared, right? Okay, so now you have to take all those and you have to add them up. So 24 plus 40 plus 15 gives you 79 yards squared, right? Okay, then you have to take that and multiply it by 2 because there's 6 sides. So there's 2 ways to do it. You can either do each of the sides and then multiply it by 2, or you could have wrote this out with all 6 of them, like 2 of these, 2 of these, and 2 of these, because you got to do the front side and the back side. Okay, so then you take your 79 yards squared, you multiply that by 2, and that's going to give you 158 yards. Okay, now I personally like to do half of it and then multiply by 2 because I think it gives you less room for error. Okay, if you write all these out, not that they're not duplicated, but if you write them all out, chances are that you'll multiply something wrong or make an error. If you do half of it and multiply by 2, less chance for error. Okay, that's number 7. How about number 8? Number 9? Number 10? Number 11? Number 11. Okay, we want to see number 11. Okay, so number 11. It takes 20 minutes for Helio to plant half of one flower bed. At that rate, how long will it take him to plant all the remaining portions of the flower beds? Okay, now this is referring to the diagram over at the left, because that's for problems 8 through 12, right? Okay, so what does it show us here? The answer is D, which is 1 hour. So what it shows us is it takes 20 minutes for half of one flower bed. So you're going to have on the one side, you're going to have 20 minutes plus an additional 20 minutes. He wants to know all of them, all the flower beds. So you're going to have 20 minutes plus 20 minutes plus so 20 and 20 is 40 and another 20 is 60, right? And how many minutes, if you add 20 and 20 is 40 and another 40 is 60, that's 60 minutes. So how many minutes are there in an hour? 60 minutes, right? So then 60 minutes would equal 1 hour. So you would get D. How about number 12? We get on 12? Okay.
Number 11.
Uh-huh.
Because it says if he takes 20 minutes to do half of one flower bed, wouldn't it take him 20 minutes to do half of the second flower bed? So it would be 20, 20, 20, 20. 120 minutes.
It's remaining flower beds. It's the remaining portions. Yeah. So it's what's left. It's so it's 20, 20, 20, 20, but we already talked about the first 20. So what's left is the 3 20s. Okay, the 20, the 20, and the 20. So that's what's left remaining. So that's how you get the 1 hour. It's the total is 1 hour and 60 minutes, but you don't have that last one because that was what we started with initially. This is what's left to do. Okay? Okay. All right, number 12.
No, 13.
Okay. Number 13. I guess we got number 13. Okay, what is the circumference of a circle with a radius of 4 feet? Use pi as 3.14. Okay, so what is the circumference of a circle? Does anybody know what the formula is? Close. 2 pi r. Yeah, so the circumference is 2 pi r, right? So you're going to take 2 times 3.14, because that's what it told us to use, times the radius, which is 4. So 2 times 3.14 times 4 should give you 25.12 feet. Okay? All right. How about 14? Good. 15? We're good. How about that? All right. Okay, the last section that I'm going to have you guys work on is your probability, data, and statistics. I think there's only 14 problems of those. So start working on those. We'll see how it goes. If we get them done, we'll go over them. If not, we'll review them in the morning. Okay? Okay. Who would like to see number 1? Are we good with 1 or do we need to see 1? We're good? How about number 2? Number 3? Number 4? Good? Number 5?
This is kind of, you want to talk about the
Okay,
A or B difference. Like, I get supposed to be on bias, so I give last night C or B.
yeah. Okay, so I think it's because the way I interpret it as, the top of the graph is saying what people say they will do with tax refunds. And so A is saying, what do you plan to do with your tax refund? The second one, B, says, what do you plan to buy? So who's to say you're gonna buy it? You know, you may want to give it to a charity or who knows what you want to do with it. So I think it's just the words itself, but that's why 5 is A. How about number 6? Good. Number 7? Good. How about number 8? Good. Oh, you want to see number 8? Okay. So number 8 says, based on the percentages shown, if 5,000 people were surveyed and you selected one of them at random, what is the probability that the person said he or she would pay bills with the refund? Okay, so if you look up at the top of the graph, circle graph, it shows paying bills to be 60%, right? Okay, so what you have to do is figure out what fraction representation would mean 60%, right? Okay, so what you have to do is, how do we go from a fraction to a decimal? We take the numerator divided by the denominator, okay? So what we would do is, if you started with F, you have 3/5. So 3 divided by 5 gives you 0.60, which would be 60%. So that's why the answer is F. If you did G, 3/4, that's 0.75 or 75%. H is, I think, is like 0.67, 2/3. And 5/6 would be like 0.83. So the one that would make the most sense here for 60% would be 3 divided by 5, which is 0.6. So that would end up giving you the 60%. Okay, everybody okay there? All right, how about number 9? We're good? Number 10? Good? Number 11? Good? Number 12? Okay, we want to see number 12. Okay, so number 12 is approximately how many more women than men are employed in preparing and serving food. So preparing and serving food is that middle category, right? Where it says food preparation and serving. Okay, so if we look at the numbers at the top, I'm looking at the men looks to me, the dark black line to be about like 2,700,000 is what I'm thinking. And then the top part, which is the women, seems to be maybe 3,700,000. Okay. So now when we look in terms of the word, like 3,700,000 or 2,700,000, sometimes that can be what trips us up. Okay. If we look at 100,000, what is 100,000? Okay. 100,000 would be represented like this, right? Is it not 100,000? Okay, so if that's 100,000, 2,700,000 would be 2,700,000, which is actually 2,700,000, right? So it's just the way you read it, okay? The same with 37, okay? 3,700, okay, thousand is actually 3,700,000. Okay, so then if you take, I think it's the women, yeah, if you take the 3,700,000 or 3,700,000 and subtract the 2,700,000, you end up getting 1 million. So it's kind of like a little bit tricky play on words. Okay, how about 13? We good? How about 14? We're good. Okay, perfect. All right, so listen, do I have everybody's list of information from where you think you might need some help on those papers? Because I want to make sure I have enough of those for tomorrow. Tomorrow, what we're going to do is do a couple self-assessments. It'll be like a little assessment of everything you did. It's not like a packet, but it's like a little mini quiz, whatever, on the topics. And remember, this is not for me, or it's not for me to know what you know, it's for us to help you. So if you take these little mini quizzes tomorrow and you miss more than you think you should, that's okay. That's just telling you that these are some areas that it might be beneficial for you to brush up on, okay? This is not like I'm gonna say, oh, we went through this whole week of stuff and you didn't get this, you know, or you're still having trouble with this. It's just about trying to make sure that you have the basis for down the road, okay? All right, so we'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a good afternoon and watch the weather. They're saying at 5 or 6, we're supposed to get some yucky stuff also, so be careful. Yucky weather.